But I did understand you right that it doesn't matter, or it is not as important to be better than the kids next door or the kid that trains next to him,
No.
but it's about being better than you were, let's say, last year or the year
Or last
before
week.
or last week. If we come back to the, let's say, first motivations, first steps of someone joining a karate club, and let's just say we'll start with kids at school age, so
Yeah.
everything, 8, 9, 10 years old of age. What would you think is the special thing that we give to kids, that karate does give to the kids, and maybe also in relation to all the other martial arts or sports schools that parents could send their kids to?
I think that parents and teachers, for that matter, consider that they are guardians of a child's development. And discipline, for instance, is often mentioned in relation to training at a dojo, particularly a traditional dojo. But discipline is really not what is important. What is important is self-discipline. And one of the things that we teach kids is to accept responsibility for the way that they behave, the way that they train. And we encourage them to want to train for themselves rather than for their parents or for their teacher or for their sensei, for that matter. I think the other thing that's very important is there's not a lot of respect in the world today. People tend, both young and old, tend to think that they can do almost anything that they want as long as it's legal, semi-legal. And it's really, when you think about it, if you've got a parent who talks openly at home about cheating the tax system, for instance, children listen, children observe, and children adopt the attitude of the elders around them, even in today's world. The other problem, of course, is that kids are also exposed to things like social media. I think probably too soon in life. But respect is something that, if you have respect, if a child has respect, then they finish up growing into be an adult that people want to be around. So if they're employed, they are valued as an employee because they've learnt some of the basic skills of being respectful. And the thing with the dojo, the thing is with our dojos, is that we don't believe that a child needs to respect sensei just because they're told to. The idea is that the sensei will respect the child or respect the adult. And Sensei Tani always used to say that that respect always travels down. So if the sensei respects the student in turn will respect the sensei. If the dojo respects the student, then the student will respect the dojo. And I think that concept of respect, starting with the senior person, starting with sensei, teaches adults some of the life skills that will make them valued. So I think that, I also think, of course, that it's really good that kids are physical. They learn to be physical, to not be afraid. So there are lots and lots of different aspects. But I do think that karate makes not just children, but people into more sociably accepted individuals.
In these days where we have a lot of, let's call it violence, but not going on the street, but also in, as you mentioned, in social media,
Sure.
in schools, you call that bullying,
Yeah.
we call that mobbing, which is the same explanation. Would you agree that, in the dojo, where we have discipline, where we have be on time, where we have respect, where we all wear the same kind of clothes, so
Yeah.
nobody's got the nice, Nikes or whatsoever on. Those traditional values, do you think they really are as important as they were when karate was sort of created or traveling from Japan to Europe?
Let's not talk. Let's not go back that far. Let's go in the last 50, 60 years. Society has changed a lot, and change today is far quicker than it used to be. Since 1945, the world is not the same place. Travel is cheaper. People travel more widely. You've got access to not only the internet, but also TV. And entertainment 50 years ago for kids was far different from entertainment today. When I was growing up, and that's a few years ago now, we were outside all the time. We played football, we played rugby, we played cricket. We interacted with the local kids because, we had a football team and so on. The problem for children today is that they're not encouraged by either their parents or their school to interact with the community in the same way. Now, there is the theory that it's far more dangerous today. I don't agree with that. I have to be perfectly honest with you. I think that society has always been dangerous and a threat to both adults and children. But today it's far more in your face. You get it in the news, you get it everywhere. So parents are fearful for their children. In the dojo, they can interact with the community safely. Parents understand that they can take their kids to the dojo, that they're supervised, they're not bullied, they are cared for, and there's a tremendous amount of respect both from the teacher to the child to the teacher, but also we encourage respect for one another. So you mentioned the fact that everybody wears the same clothes. We do. Except, of course, some people are white belts, some people are red belts, some people are yellow belts, and some people are black belts. And what that does, it teaches a child that if you want to move forward in life, you have to accept that you have to work hard and you have to develop skills that you don't have right now. So one of the great benefits of the grading system in the dojo, and sometimes parents don't understand it. Why did my child not get a red belt? Why did my child not get a yellow belt? And it's because in schools, in other parts of the community, people are reluctant to say to a child, you have failed. They're reluctant to say, you need to get better. So you'll get first place for a race, but you'll also get a medal for 10th place. And there is an increased acceptance that second best is okay. What we teach the child is that you need to be the best that you can be. It's not in relation to other people. If you want to compete, of course, that's very nice. If you don't want to compete, then there are other aspects of karate that are equally important. And nobody gets a red belt or a yellow belt or an orange belt because they are a better athlete. Not everybody can be a better athlete. Not everybody can be a champion. But everybody can be the best that they can be. And that's what the dojo teaches kids. And the children actually understand fairly quickly that this is an environment where you're not going to get given anything at all without you having worked for it. So it helps develop a better work ethic in the kids. And teachers tell us that kids who do karate do far better at school. But I think that that's because the kids have learned that in order to achieve, they need to put in the effort.
Karate is not a short story. It is a long journey. And although there can be a competitive aspect, you
Sure.
mentioned tournaments and those things, but I did understand you right that it doesn't matter, or it is not as important to be better than the kids next door or the kid that trains next to him,
No.
but it's about being better than you were, let's say, last year or the year
Or
before.
last week.
Or last week.